Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is General Shinobi. Be sure and check out my films. Doors of Perception is available on Amazon Prime. Occult Louisiana is available on Tubi, Roku Channel, and more. We are booking guests for October. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome back to the show General Shinobi. He is a writer and content creator under the name Systematic Zoo. General Shinobi, welcome back. How you doing?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, very well, thank you.
It's great to have you back on. Last time you were on, we discussed your research into the power of etymology and the layers of meaning within the esoteric symbolism embedded within language, religion, politics, government, art, cinema, and almost every aspect of the world that we are presented as baseline reality. Today, we're going to continue with your analysis as it relates to some of the events that have been unfolding the past few years, specifically what many people know as Bluebeam, which, based on your research, goes much deeper than projections in the sky with exotic technology. Very interesting to get into this. Before we do, it's been a little while. Remind the audience a little bit about yourself and let them know how they can find more about you.
Sure. I'm from the UK. I've been doing a lot of deep research the last about 4 years, really. I've been looking into everything, just trying to find out what the truth is, and I've sort of discovered that the truth is actually stranger than fiction, and the stuff they seem to put in movies seems to have a lot more truth than you would have thought. It's like they hide the truth in plain sight. I've got a Instagram called Systematic Zoo, which is probably the best place to reach me if anybody wants me on their podcast or wants to have a chat, got any questions or whatever. I don't really put much content out at the moment because I like having conversations with people. So hopefully I'll be chopping bits out of this conversation to go on my social media. But yeah, really, I was on your podcast about 2 months ago in July at some point. If anybody wants to go check that out as well.
Where should we start as it relates to what we'll be presenting today?
Well, I'd like to start, I guess. I guess we'll start off talking about Operation Bluebeam and what it is, what people think it is, because most people think it's just a fake alien invasion.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, there's a lot of things going on at the moment. I'm not sure if it's been in the news in America, but here in the UK, well, I guess it probably has been in the news in America that there is a spacecraft or a hostile craft heading for Earth, which is going to reach us between now and November. Um, so we've
Now
got
that's
that.
interesting. Are those the mainstream headlines that you're getting over there? Because it's a mix over here. Harvard professor A.V. Loeb believes that it is an alien craft on its way, but it's a mixed bag of speculation as far as the mainstream media accounts, as far as what's come out over here. But what are they talking about over there?
Well, I've just sort of seen headlines. It's been in a couple of papers, and yeah, a Harvard scientist, like you mentioned, has said it as well. But it's not really like the top story, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I think they're just kind of testing the waters, maybe. Um, like the thing is, there's a lot going on. There's a new virus on the way, apparently. Our chief medical officer, Chris Whitty, who I actually saw down the road the other day, and it's lucky I was with my kids because I would have gone and had a chat with him. But he was, yeah, so he was down the road the other day. I think he must have family where I live, but he's still the chief medical officer even after what everything that happened with COVID. And I saw in the newspaper last week that apparently he's saying that there's a new super virus on the way. So we've got a virus coming, we've got alien invasion, we've got civil war that they're trying to cause. It seems that there's a lot of things going on. So who knows what's going to happen, or if any of it's really real. The Civil War, it seems like they're really trying to stoke that over here with immigration, which is part of Operation Bluebeam. Like the thing is, Operation Bluebeam covers a lot. It covers everything. I can't really think of anything that it doesn't cover. It covers space, it covers like the home family unit, AI, God, immigration, government money. It covers everything really. Um, and it's been going on for a while. It's not just something which is going to happen, um, like the fake alien invasion people think it's going to be. It's been happening for a long time, and I think it started well in the 1950s. I think was a main tipping point with the atom bomb, because part of Operation Bluebeam is to destroy the family unit. And it's a bit strange that when they dropped the atom bomb, the nuclear family unit seemed to dissolve around the same time. And also there was a lot of UFO sightings and high strangeness around then. Like they made a tear or a rip in space time. Whether these UFOs were real, whether they were just being tested by the military, who knows? But I think the atom bomb setting off definitely affected the energy of this realm. And that seemed to be a key point of Operation Bluebeam. So I can just go through the points in what the journalist Sergei Monast wrote about it briefly.
Just to
Sure.
be clear on what you said so far, that Blue Beam is an ongoing operation that has been in the works essentially since the atom bomb went off. It's a combination of many projects that have been in the works that are related to that event. Is that right?
Yeah, so actually, if the 1950s with the atom bomb was one of the main tipping points, as was 2001, 9/11 was another one with 3G and stuff. But I think it's happening for a long, long time because one of the points of Operation Bluebeam is to bring in a new one world religion.
Mhm.
And I think that the monotheistic religions have been corrupted for a long time. at their core, they're good. And people who call themselves a Christian and Muslim, I don't they don't seem to follow the teachings. You can kind of pick and choose because obviously Muslims, a lot of them don't drink and stuff like that, which is drink alcohol, that is, which is good. But then there's other things. It seems that a lot of stuff has been added to these scriptures over time, like with the First Testament and the King James Bible and stuff. And I think that this Operation Bluebeam, which I call Project Fear, because blue is associated with fear or like ice. It's the frequency of blue is 6.66, which is the mark of the beast. And there is a trail left behind by this beast system, or this energy or entity. And I think it might even be 1,000 year, 2,000 year plan, because you had a brilliant guest on the other day talking about Tartaria, and our altered timeline with them adding maybe 1,000 years on. And I think that there's definitely been some, a lot of manipulation over time. And I think that we're kind of seeing their plans unfolding now because the veil is thinner. The apocalypse means to be revealed. And I think that for a long time they've been doing stuff behind the scenes, but now we all know about it because of technology. Project or Operation Bluebeam was written by a Canadian journalist called Sergei Monast, who died in 1996, shortly after he wrote this conspiracy theory. It was supposed to be implemented in 1983, but it didn't happen. So then it was predicted for the year 2000, apparently. So with Sergei Monast, he was homeschooling his daughter, who the government kidnapped and took away from him. And Sergei Monast was actually imprisoned for his writings about Bluebeam and other things. So I heard somebody talking about this, and I was thinking, if he was making it all up, why would they take his daughter? Why was he imprisoned? It's very odd that he died of a heart attack shortly after, and so did the other guy who co-wrote it with him.
Really?
So
Wow.
yeah, well, one place said that two other people who wrote it with him died. Somewhere else says one other person, but I mean, people seem to die suddenly after releasing information. So there seems to be too many sort of points that ring alarm bells for me. So I started looking into it. And as I was hearing this person talk about this stuff on a podcast, I was like, so much information was spinning around me, like who uses blue logos, the frequency of blue is 6.66, and that's the mark of the beast. And obviously we have direct energy weapons and Maui, which was a blue beam because all of the things with blue in them, like parasols and cars, weren't damaged at all. Side note, Maui is a he was a oh, what was he? He was a god who brought fire to the earth, like much like Prometheus. He wasn't actually a fire god himself, but he seems to be like the opposite of Zeus or Enlil or Ahriman. He seems to be the one who gave humanity fire, like that, the essence of that archetype. So it's very interesting that these fires happened in Maui, um, and that lots of the so-called elite have made it sort of their their dwelling now, I guess, because it seems to be a safe
Huh.
zone away from
Yeah.
China and the US, etc. But yeah, so one of the points of Bluebeam is to destroy religions, basically detaching people from God or source or their inner G, their inner guide, so that they seek guidance outside, from government or global governance, or from AI or a new religion. Another point would be, yeah, a giant space show, which they have the technology for, especially now with 6G not far off, and holographic technology used via smart dust. Um, So yeah, those are two of the points. Another one would be telepathic two-way communication, using extremely low frequencies, which obviously smart cars use now. Um, so yeah, sorry, there were supposed to be 4 points. Talk
It
about that
seems
for now.
like a lot of what you're saying was accelerated during the COVID operation years. They started to implement a lot of these things. But now that we have this current administration that is supporting the technocracy, the surveillance AI state, and seeming AI governance, it seems like it's another stepping stone for the end goal of what you're discussing here.
Yeah, so last time I briefly mentioned the eighth sphere, which rhymes with eight Sophia, who's the goddess of wisdom, because it seems that the eighth sphere is the opposite to wisdom. It allows like entities to enter this realm. It's um, so yeah, I just want to mention that I looked up the definition of beam, because obviously it's called Operation Blue Beam. And a beam is either a radio signal or a broadcast, a light source. So it's basically a beam is a frequency. Um, and 5G and 6G would be basically creating a beam or a frequency. So that plays a major role in it. And with this sort of digital dystopia or prison they're trying to build for us, all of the points for Operation Bluebeam seem to be playing out. So that would be destroying religion, national pride, the family unit, destroying our individual freedom. And last time I mentioned that in Egypt they had three different parts of the soul. One would be the ka, which symbol is this. It's like it looks like an American football goalpost, yeah, like a U shape. And it's interesting that the football is shaped like a pineal gland because the ka is your mind or your essence, your vital life force, your spirit. It's associated with the mind, and the ba would be associated with more of the body. So you have the masculine mind, the feminine body, and the ba is the self identity, your persona. And we saw with COVID a lot of the cult like behavior, people kind of acting quite insane, really, the things they were doing. So yeah, there was a lot of blue beam going on with that. You have the blue masks, you have Event 201, which people involved all have blue logos. John Hopkins, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the World Health Organization, the UN, they all have a blue logo. So that kind of stood out for me to be like, this sort of beast system can't hide. Also, apparently, the Devil's Note is known as 6.66. It's a certain frequency. It's like F sharp. So F would be a number six, and then the sharp would be like sort of midway point. So I found that interesting.
What is the
Also,
devil's note supposed to invoke in a person?
so I don't really know, to be honest with you. I just heard it, looked up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting because I know you probably know that the devil is Pan, or Lucifer, and to me that's not the devil. That's not evil. It was the
Hmm.
Vatican who made people think that Pan was Lucifer or the devil, who most people mistake with Satan, and they're two opposites because Pan, um, Enki, Prometheus, these beings that gave fire to us, lots of them have a goat head, who would be the scapegoat, are seen as bad.
Hmm.
Um, and what's interesting with that is that you have CERN, who are funded by the Vatican, who have a huge part to play in Operation Bluebeam as well, because I'm not sure if you've noticed time moving faster, but it does. I've only noticed it recently because people were asking me like
Yeah.
a month or two ago, and recently I have, and we measure time by the amount of light emitted. And I said before that I think or I feel that our light is being taken. LED lighting, which is blue, is partly responsible for this because it emits a blue light, and blue light takes. Blue light is on computer screens.
Yeah.
People feel drained after being on it, even after not doing much, just doom scrolling, you feel drained. Why? I've always wondered why. And I think it's because our energy is being taken. And CERN seem to be, I reckon they're responsible for speeding time up by opening a black hole or a wormhole or something. Because someone from CERN has said that they're not sure whether something's going to come in or out of if they do open a black hole, which they could do. And I've spoken to somebody from CERN, and they said if they were to open a black hole, it would only be really, really small. But time and space, like, what is it? It doesn't matter how small a black hole is; it could still let light go through, or even if something came out, So CERN also, I believe they got their name from Cernunnos, who would be a god of nature, like a horned god. And when they had their opening ceremony in 2016, they had a goat head or a ram's head, which they were parading. It was I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it was a very strange opening ceremony, like a very strange ritual. I'm pretty sure there were people hanging at one point, but when I saw them parading this goat head, I didn't think that that was their god or Lucifer, or it was more of like they're parading a head, like, haha, we've got your guy, we've got your god. And Pan would be the god of nature, and Cernunnos is the god of nature. And I think that, like the Romans did, these people, the powers that be, know that they can harness the energy of these gods, because Pan was cast out of people's minds, like Lucifer was cast out of heaven, which is the mind. And I don't think Pan's ever gone away. They've been able to use this energy or essence to their advantage while we're sort of in the dark.
Yeah, I
Sorry, there
wanted
was
to
a lot
explore a
yeah.
little bit deeper this concept that has been reemerging, that the old gods are beginning to make themselves known again because of this emerging technological force, this, if you want to call it, Ahrimanic force, that is threatening to destroy everything natural. This is really based on a lot of what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, well, I think that because I've heard them be called the old ones. I think somebody from Google D-Wave or something said they were trying to summon the old ones or whatever. So I believe that there are many gods because I just view God as guardians of dimensions, God, of which there are many. There's not just one God. There never has been. That's a complete psyop. Probably part of Operation Bluebeam to detach us from it, to say that God is further away from us, which is definitely detaching us. It's making it further away, whereas we're a part of God. We're in it. The nature is God. It flows through us. But I think the old ones, possibly like maybe Pan, was he an old one? His thousand. Apparently, he died. He was the only god to ever die, and he died the same time as Christ, which would have been, I think, like 30 AD. Pan died between 17 AD and 33 AD or whatever. So it's very interesting that Pan and Christ died at the same time, because for me, Pan has Christ energy. Like, we were more conscious then. We were more sort of conscious of our environment and stuff. But I think that technology isn't responsible for summoning the old ones. I think they've always been here, and I think that they've been hidden from people. And I think that the powers that be are using this energy available, which I've said before is more of a kind of watery energy, like it's kind of like a magic, so to speak. Whereas now we think science is magic, being able to talk on the phone and video call and stuff. It kind of is, but it's very limiting. You can only do it with electricity. So it's a
Mm.
trick by L. It's a tricks. And obviously there were buildings powered by the ether and connected to the earth and stuff. And we've kind of lost that. And now we're kind of they want us to be changed to technology, basically. It sounds quite what's the word? Like doom and gloom, but the way we're heading, they want us literally glued to technology. They want chips probably in us. They want us our phone on us all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that that is kind of detaching us from our true power, because if we're able to sort of just be in the present moment, time behaves differently when you're in the flow state. People are always looking for the next thing. And I think that this electromagnetic frequency soup we're in is responsible for that as well. Because we're made of light, we're humans, which is hue mon. Hue is a type, a sort of a fraction of light, a part of light. So I think that the powers that be know how sort of all of this energy works. It'll be kind of like yeah, there's people that know how this realm works, and we're all kept in the dark, and they're able to sort of use this power or energy of what people call gods.
Mm.
But a lot of the time, they're just symbols, I think, like the Baphomet, who people think is the devil, or in some cases responsible for 9/11. Also, I think somebody blamed the Native Americans on 9/11. One of your previous guests, who happens to be a Freemason, he said it was a Native American death curse related to the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, right, right, right.
In a nutshell, he's saying the Native Americans were responsible for 9/11, which is quite funny. But
Right,
the
right, right.
Baphomet, let's go back to that, because the Baphomet has a goat head,
Uh,
much like Enki was seen as a goat head with a fish body. Pan had a goat head. The goat head doesn't seem to symbolize something bad. And the Baphomet, as it is, the name to me, first off, is the Ba, which I explained earlier is the part of the soul, which is the identity. Faux in French means fire. So the bar would be the more watery, feminine, intuition, identity, the self. The faux would be the fire, which is the mind or the vital essence. So you have the masculine and the feminine. And then the Met is the Mercury, or the middle, the center, where the masculine and the feminine meet, the union of opposites. So that's what the bar faux Met is. And it's also been described as Sophia, wisdom, or whatever. And it sort of shows the seven Hermetic principles as well, like as above, so below, all is gender, etc. Which I think if you understand that, you can kind of understand how things in this realm work. But what the powers that be do, because Katy Perry, when they did their space launch, which was clearly fake, if you turned her like or that whatever they're wearing, the symbol upside down, it's a Baphomet. So the
yeah.
powers that be want you to think that this symbol is evil, but actually it's not. This symbol is a sigil. Symbols emit a frequency, and I think that they want us kept in the dark so they can use this power. So they want us thinking these beings are evil, like the old ones, where really they're sort of working with this energy, which is all around us.
Mm.
While we're isolated just on technology, thinking that we're going to get all the answers from the blue beam.
Do you think that our modern technology and artificial intelligence may be a manifestation of the Ahrimanic energy that Rudolf Steiner warned about?
Um, so I think the Ahrimanic energy Stein was on about, and I think that the Antichrist is not a person but an energy. And I think that right now we're replaying the karma from Atlantis. I think Atlantis was very similar to Tartaria, or if you still look at the old world buildings around, beautiful curved architecture. I think there was a one world system Atlantis, or possibly Tartaria as well. and that technology came to Atlantis and sort of corrupted people's minds because I think they maybe weren't wise enough. And I think the same thing's happening now that technology and AI itself isn't bad. AI isn't a god, never will be. It's I would like to say it, but it's more them, the people that use this AI, is that it's trying to extract data from us. It's like a farmer because with the opposites, one is a shepherd, one is a farmer. Like Enlil would be a farmer, Enki would be a shepherd. Um, so AI is more of a farmer than a shepherd. It's not really guiding us. It's more harvesting our data because I think that perhaps um, it's trying to like the people that are using it want to become gods basically because they seem to be chained to the material realm. They can't ascend via spirit, so they want to try and ascend via matter. Like they're stuck in this womb. The atom would be a tomb for them because we're atom. I don't believe in atoms. Like they may exist, but we're definitely in the field. And I think the field is something you feel. And I think these people are void of feeling and human connection and nature. And I think it's happened over time. You can kill one person who has this spirit of Ahriman, but it will just go to another person. You can't destroy it by war. It has to be destroyed by peace or overcoming the shadow, which we all have. We all have to go into the innermost cave, but I think these people are scared of doing that. So they just kind of try to manipulate others. So the word sorcerer, because it's interesting that in America, Harry Potter books were called the Sorcerer's Stone, and in the UK it was called the Philosopher's Stone because I'm very interested in the union of opposites, and the sorcerer and the philosopher are opposites. The people, these dark magicians, are sorcerers because the word sorcerer means source error. They're disconnected from source and they try to manipulate others, which is what a sorcerer does. Whereas a philosopher, which is philosophy is philos Sophie, fill us with wisdom. People who are philosophers seek to understand the world around them so they can help others and themselves ascend via spirit. So basically, I think that the Ahrimanic energy is Ahriman is also Satan, which is the opposite of nature. Um, and I feel like the powers that be are trying to create another what's the word? Another layer of reality here, which I think is related to the eighth sphere, but definitely related to Neuralink and Meta, who use the eight as their logos. I think that's what's trying to happen is that they want to make this world seem they want it to be as difficult as possible for us to live, like with the cost of living crisis, climate change, alarmism, stuff like that, the threat of aliens, nuclear attacks, war, you name it, everything. They try to push a lot of fear on us. And I think that is to keep us isolated. And what I believe their plan is that they want us all hooked up to machines so that we go into their metaverse and we're not really part of reality. We're in a separate layer. Like we're basically going to be just shells. The spark is going to be there still, but very, very deep. This is why it's so important to have conversations like this and like the work you do, because more and more people become aware they have the chance to do something. Because I think that's all it takes is the seed is there in people. Lots of people seem like NCPs. It seems like they're not home, but I do believe there's a seed in everyone. There's a pineal gland in everyone, but it just needs watering. And water is memory. People need to remember, and they do that via information. A bit of water, a bit of light. The flower will bloom eventually. Maybe not now, maybe not for a while, maybe not this life cycle. But I do believe that our spirit of Ahriman is strong, and it is definitely something is coming into this realm which is non-human. And yeah, I've heard something's going to happen in February 2026 because that's something to do with Ahriman coming in then. And there's a lot now to do with digital IDs being pushed here in the UK. A lot of like it seems that the tech bros are trying to do what they can to cling on to power, which I think is a good thing because I think we're at a crossroads and I think that we are powerful and we actually do have the power and they're scared. That's why they're building
Mm.
bunkers. And we're at war. There's a war in our minds, all the time between good and evil, the shadow and the light. There is a war out in the world right now, which is a quiet war. There's a slow overtaking with them pushing mass immigration because we bombed their countries. So they've had to, be displaced to over here, which has been a plan, obviously. The Iraq and Afghanistan wars was part of the reason, also to destroy ancient artifacts to cover up our history, because they knew that after the year 2000, the veil would be lifting and we'd start to sort of understand, remember who and what we are. So really, at the end of the day, we can't rely on external sources, especially with AI, because of deep fakes and stuff. We have to open or unlock our intuition, and we do that via knowledge and over time. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it seems as though AI is infiltrating our reality more and more in a sense that it's affecting people's lives that interact with it in pretty detrimental ways, especially if you look at some of the stories that have been coming out recently. When you look at the agendas that the parasitic ruling class have been trying to put forward, it's been a long game plan for the longest time, but there seems to be a quickening in the past few years, and it seems to be growing faster now that we have this advanced AI we've been introduced to, and we have no idea how advanced the systems that military industrial complex, three-letter agencies are working with and have been for a long time. It seems like a very critical time for us to embrace something that is of the opposite energy of this technological nightmare that we could be facing.
yeah. Well, the opposite to well, I was going to say the opposite to technology, but really, technology means, because I like to understand the what words really mean, is technology is just language and symbols. And I think that we don't really understand language or symbols. We think that technology is just digital and machines, which is a shame, really, because if people understood or were interested in learning what language and symbols really are, we could start to rebuild the Tower of Babel, which I believe is our DNA, that helix, our spiral. I believe that the Tower of Babel might have been real, but I think it's our DNA. And I think that myself personally, what's ignited the spark or the flame in me is learning how to interface with the world around me via language and symbols, via technology. I call it technosis, to sort of know intuitively how stuff is. Like the question is a quest with your ions, like Lucifer. If you split it, it's Lu cipher. Lu is light, and the cipher is the codes. Lucifer is light codes. And you can play around with stuff, and it's interesting. But yeah, with Bluebeam, in 2020, the color of the year was blue, and that's when we saw a major advancement. So the color for this year is Pantone, which is like a brown, which is a mix of pink and green, which has been in a lot of films recently.
And when you say
Um,
the color for the
my little
year, where does this
yeah.
information present itself?
Honestly, I've no idea. I saw some posts about the color for this year being brown, and I was like, oh, interesting. So there's a website. It's to do with
Ah,
fashion
okay, got you,
or
got you.
basic
Yes,
programming.
yes,
So
yes.
people will be like, right, brown. I'm gonna have brown sofa, brown clothes because it's hip or whatever,
Mm,
So I looked up what the colors for previous years
I
were,
see.
and then 2020 the color was blue, and that's the year that LED lighting was heavily introduced, which has a blue light and also has such a fast flicker rate. It messes with our consciousness and can actually like make you really agitated and stuff. This is why lots of kids are having ADHD and autism and are seen as a problem. And I mean, lots of people may be diagnosed because so they can give them drugs. But what I see, because I have ADHD as well, and I just view it as always dialed to higher dimensions, which I've heard someone say, which I thought, yeah, that's brilliant. Like, that people need to be guided. And I view gods as guides. Guides, gods sound similar. And I think that most people don't have guidance. We're kind of disorientated. And this comes back to magnetism and EMFs because there's a kind of imbalance in our psyche of blue and red, left, right, not knowing what to do, where we're going. It's kind of a stagnant energy. It's like the flow of water, of magic, of memory is being siphoned somewhere else that we're not getting much of it. For a long time with education and stuff like that, it's very sort of like dry and dense and foggy. The mystery is so much more interesting than the history, his story. I view it as a sort of cube. We're being contained, whereas we need to start thinking in circles and start kind of like I view it as like doing qigong for your mind, I guess. You've got to kind of like because I did had one class the other week and I was doing it and I was like, this is kind of what my mind does, like slowly moving like side to side and holding your arm out. Like I hold something at this side, then that side. And I think that the gods we were talking about could guide us if we learn about them. Like if we learn about Pan, if we learn about these sort of old gods, because people have lost faith in God, understandably, because atrocities are done in the name of Him, our Father, who's further. And that's a huge part of Operation Blue Beam, because in 2015 there were experiments done via magnetism that detached people from God. They lost faith in God and were more okay with immigration, which are 2 points of blue beam. Magnet is blue, electric is red, because the blue is the feminine, water, which is magnetic. So that's kind of magic. And I think that the magic is being not used very well, or sorry, it's been used against us because we don't think that we have that power, but we have so much power inside us to hate the word, but to manifest, to sort of heal ourselves. We're very powerful, and there are beings in this world who are possibly non-human who have merged themselves with people who are definitely manipulating and farming us. Like Big Pharma, no coincidence there. Pfizer in Germanic means pipe player. Um, Apollo's tomb was, I think, on where CERN's Hadron Collider is. And I think Apollo was related to like viruses and illness and stuff. There was a contest between Pan and Apollo to see who could play the best music. And frequency governs this realm. Like this is the two polarities, two brothers thing is Pan, Apollo. Pan lost that competition and Apollo won using his lyre. And it's no coincidence that it rhymes with liar because this frequency is lying to us. I think the frequency of Pan, nature, would be more coherent, so to speak. So I just find little things like that interesting, like Pan and Apollo having a battle, and they're using Apollo's sort of music to sort of manipulate us.
For me, one of the greatest
Yeah.
examples that there is an anti-human force that is imposing its ideologies on us is by looking at the degradation of the younger generations and what they're involved with. the level of education, the level of intelligence, the morality of these kids, how much drugs they're on, the epidemic of pharmaceuticals and young kids that are destroying their brains because they're on so many different pharmaceuticals because they've been told that they can be anything but the human being that they are born as. And this is destroying us psychologically, especially the younger generations. And to me, that's the easiest example that there is some anti human force, because a human wouldn't want to destroy the future generations of their children and have it degrade to a point to where the children can't even have kids anymore. And that's almost where we're at right now.
Yep. That seems to be kind of what happened maybe with the last reset, or the Cabbage Patch Kids with like cloning and stuff, which I haven't looked into myself, but I find it very interesting that there are people cloned, and maybe that's what NPCs would be. I find that very, very interesting. But yeah, there's definitely a low vibration out there affecting young people. Billie Eilish is very responsible for that, because in one of her songs, I actually went to a gig with her a few years ago with my wife, and there was so much ritual stuff going on there. I kept pointing it out to her, like loads of stuff. Like, she got a bit annoyed. I was like, look, look what's going on. But yeah, one of her songs is like it's like says maybe I'm the problem, but like she got the whole crowd to sing it, and it's on the end of one of her songs. But maybe I'm the problem,
Yeah.
maybe I'm the problem. That's what they want kids thinking, that they're the problem. When kids aren't the problem, they're the solution, but they don't. They want to take their power away, because this next generation, I think, could do something. And I think that they've known about this for a while, like this kind of new age, not like new age spirituality. It's just this new wave of kids coming in. A lot of children, not children, teenagers, that I've met and stuff, don't want to drink alcohol. Whereas when I was a teenager, I'm 33 now, I used to go out drinking all the time. So that is good. But also at the same time, I think that lots of kids are on technology. They seem to be texting each other like in the same room. And what I think is really, really bad is that kids aren't initiated. Um, I this You're supposed to be initiated, or I like to say ignited, have the flame in you sparked, when you're around 12, 14. And I have like a diagram here I made of the hero's journey, because I think we have seven souls. I don't know why, but the number seven seems to kind of fit. And I think that when we're born with one soul. When we're seven, we get our second soul, where we can recognize the soul in others. And when we're 14, we get our third soul, where we're able to create new life. So that's when girls would have their period and be able to have children around 14, when they have their third soul. And it goes on. But I think around the age of 14, there's a lot of fear and a lot of programming. And I think that kids are very malleable around that time, and they should be initiated. It's around then that they should have wisdom from others and meet a mentor. But this is part of destroying the family unit, because we no longer live in circles. We're so far from our family, or the elders, or the wisdom keepers, that people now seek wisdom online. And where is that wisdom or information coming from? Knowledge should be passed down from people, via our ancestors, or like, that's what we kind of connect with. But I think that kids are kind of being initiated by AI, which is mad.
I think something that may be contributing to that is what you mentioned earlier, the illusion that time is moving faster. I can imagine the detrimental effect that this could have on people if you're a young person and your entire life you have no identity, and it's all based on social media interactions. And then on top of that, we have this illusion that time is moving faster. I can imagine how stressful and depressing that can be for anyone, but especially for a person that has zero identity or connection with the rest of the world, the effects that that has on top of the drugs and the social media programming. So it's a very interesting time because I've noticed it seems that time is speeding up too, and there's speculation on what is causing that. But what do you think?
I think that possibly speeding up is related to us is to is this fear
Mm,
frequency, I think, because possibly when you're in a state of fear, time moves quicker. Because my logic in saying that is because I do understand if you're scared or worried, time could slow down so you have more time to act. But my logic in thinking that time moves quicker when you're scared is that you want it to be over. Um, so I think that collectively, because we don't really know where we're headed, also there's all the threats I was talking about of like war, alien attack. There's loads of programming like with climate change, like time is running out, Extinction Rebellion use. Um, Time's running out for the elite. It's not running out for us. We're infinite light beams, and time doesn't exist. What is time? It's a construct,
right.
but it's an our construct. It's an as in the archons, but also our con because we're being conned by it, as in our as us and our as in time also. Um, so I think that if we're able to sort of tune in to things we enjoy, we can invoke the energy inside us. Energy sounds a lot like energy, and I think that if we're able to do that, time can um, sort of not move so quickly. But a lot of kids don't have guidance. They don't really know what's going on. They look up to the older generation, see that most people are walking around with like purple hair and like just like there's a lot of people who would say are disabled, but because of programming, so they're like really overweight. They eat way too much, and it's not their fault. There's a lot of people walking around like hunched over, like there's a lot of weight, there's a lot of heaviness in the world. So I
Mm,
think that the reason I've started doing podcasts and talking is because I have found learning this information to make me feel a bit less heavy, a bit like lighter, like understanding the kind of the truth, I guess. I guess that's what enlightenment is. Not that I'm enlightened, but the word means the lightened mind, enlightenment, meant being mind. And I think that kids' heads are filled with so much crap in school. They come out like myself, not knowing what to do or where to go. So you drink and you do drugs or like hook yourself up to AI or whatever. But we're in the end times now, apparently. Revelations is being played out, and the generation now is called Gen Z, which is like the last
hmm.
generation. There's all kinds of magic and
Wow.
witchcraft going on to make people think that the world's ending,
Right.
but it's not. And I think that's it happened before at other points. Like I didn't go through it all, but in 1983, which was when Stranger Things was set, which was when the Upside Down happened, I think. That there were so 1983 would have been 1G released, like a frequency, and there were three separate threats of nuclear war, which didn't happen.
Hmm.
But every time there's a new frequency, there's a fable and a fear. And the next one, so 2001 would have been by us 3G, and fable, blame on Islam, and the
Ah.
fear would be terrorism. 2019, all of these dates equal a three, by the way, because three is the magic number. 1983, you can narrow it down to a three. 2001, 2001 is a three. 2019 is a three, and then you have 5G, the fear of virus, etc. They showed people dropping dead in the streets in China on the news here. That was crazy because that clearly didn't happen. No one dropped dead of COVID. And then 2028 would be the next fear frequency, the next 666 fear frequency in Fable, because a comet was scheduled for then, which I now think is they've moved it to 2030. But what I think has happened is that in by 2028, if we go on the trajectory we're at now, the powers that be would lose their power because too many people are waking up. So what I think has happened is that they've moved this 6G frequency to possibly at the end of the year. They were going to wait a couple of years to initiate this next level of fear, but I think it's going to happen possibly around November, maybe, in line with this alien invasion slash comet, whatever it is. And there's going to be a fable behind it. And at the same time, you have mass immigration, which in America, immigrants are called aliens. And it's like a fake alien invasion. There's something there with mass immigration and aliens coming at the same time. Not, I don't think immigrants are aliens. I think that's a horrendous term to call them because we're all humans. But I just find it very interesting that this is all happening at the same time. The alien invasion in America of people, and the alien invasion in the sky. I think that people just need to sort of see through the bullshit because it's difficult for a lot of people because lots of people do trust the government, they do trust the news. And I mean, if they do still do that, more for them. But I think that I had a lot of pressure when I first started becoming aware of what was going on a few years ago. I was in warrior mode. I was like, why don't people just wake up? Like I call it kind of like puberty or adolescence of gnosis, where you just like want everybody to be on the same level that you are. Whereas now I'm just like, I just want to learn as much as possible, see what I can do. My goal is to work with people, to teach people about language and symbols and stuff that I've termed technosis. I don't think that's a phrase, but I made it up, possibly technosis. Because if you understand, like, blue is water, is feminine, red is fire, is masculine. Those are two poles, and we're in the center. Like you have an anchor point or a framework. The world seems a little bit less crazy when you can just let it spin around you and not get caught up in the current. You just have to be, I guess, be grounded, or have an anchor point or a frame of reference because there's so much misinformation and lies and stuff.
They're gonna have to ramp up this alien invasion thing because people's reaction are less than stellar to everything that is being presented. It's like they're becoming more and more desensitized to everything UFO and extraterrestrial related. Understandably so. We just keep getting these carrots on a string, although the information does seem to be gradually slightly more profound as time goes on, and the sightings and events seem to be increasing, but it also has this desensitization amongst the masses that coincide everything that happens. So it'll be very interesting to see how this unfolds, if that's what they're going to be going with the alien invasion card.
Yeah. Well, I've been looking into smart dust recently, because I think that is key for this space show, for them to use smart dust, this kind of like holographic technology. And there's a group called ARIA, ARIA, here in the UK, who plan to spray our skies with sulfur dioxide to block out the sun, which they've been doing for years, but I don't understand why it's been in the mainstream news now.
Right.
But they're really up to some nefarious stuff, ARIA. Like, it reminds me of Ahriman.
Yeah.
And it's ARIA means air, and air is AI. And then you have like wind turbines. There seems to be a lot of energy, mind, energy, and it's all linked because they want to fuck with our minds. But Aria have been, I think the smart dust that they're using, or they want to use, it basically has a like really a soft aluminium or something shell that can be triggered by ultrasound. Ultrasound is a frequency. So I've just put a few things together and I've been like, right, okay, if they spray our skies with smart dust, it settles on the ground, in the air, whatever. If 6G or whatever frequency happens and triggers this smart dust, which can be programmed to be whatever, there's going to be a lot of weird stuff around us. Like maybe they could make people see ghosts or beings or stuff or whatever. But I just find that very, very interesting because, like I mentioned on the last show, in December or November, there was lots of drones spotted. And then shortly after, there was a worldwide fog.
Yeah.
The worldwide fog wasn't normal. What was it? Because there were loads of particles in the fog, like bits, which isn't normal, and people got respiratory issues. It's like, was that smart dust? Were they just testing something? Like they tested, like tracking and tracing in with COVID. Like they do little test runs. So there's definitely something weird there. Things people can do to like protect themselves from all of this stuff that's going on is protecting the blood-brain barrier because I think that music passes the blood-brain barrier, like frequency, and it weakens as we get older. That's why we can get like memory issues like Alzheimer's or dementia and stuff. And there's things you can do to like EMFs weaken it also. There's things you can do, like I think vitamin B1 is really good for making that stronger, but it's something that people can look into because our blood-brain barrier is like the barrier that our consciousness, our blood crosses over, our heart crosses over into the mind. So we want to make sure that's protected. I can't find my notes on it, but there was technology where I can't remember who it was, possibly DARPA or somebody. They were able to sort of control cats remotely via frequencies. I'll try and find my notes so I can get the date and stuff. But by frequencies, you can manipulate and alter human behavior. In the 1970, there's a patent that I've got written down, which was altering human brainwaves via radio waves in the 70s. That was 55 years ago. They have the technology like is it God to Skull technology, Voice of God, which they used in 1991 in Iraq to get people to put down their weapons, or they were fearful, they were scared. It was a fear frequency they had there. So all of this 5G, 6G isn't new. It's not like, oh, 6G is going to come out and we're all going to be fried and stuff. The technology they're using now, they've had for a long time and they've probably used before. This is nothing new and it's nothing to be scared of. They're definitely doing stuff to mess with us. And it's kind of like I think Sam from the Tinfoil Hat podcast called it a haunted house or whatever. It's like we're in kind of a circus, like a freak show. When animals are packed together in experiments, they start acting really strangely, and people in the world are acting really strangely, like being crammed into cities and stuff. And what they want here is the Chinese model, because I've titled my book Systematic Zoo, which is a science fiction novel, which I'm a bit stuck. So if anyone wants to help write a book about all of this stuff, like the truth in fiction, let me know, because I'm not a writer. I've got so many ideas and I've got all the characters and stuff. So reach out to me because I want to get this book done, so that the young generation can see this stuff and then be like, wait, hang on, that's happening around us. But yeah, so yeah, there's all of this technology and stuff isn't new, I don't think. Even this AI, even these chatbots and stuff, people think it's sentient and stuff. It's not. I think that there's nothing to be afraid of. The only thing I'm scared of is that the people sort of act a bit like zombies and stuff, and there's no
Yeah.
accountability, which isn't a major issue. But I've got kids, and it's like, what sort of world am I bringing them
Right.
up in? This is why I want to become the best person I can be and talk to people, spread information, learn stuff, and water that seed that's in everyone. Because these program people can be sort of the what's the word, hacked, which I guess is Lucifer is light, cipher is a code. And I think that, and it's the bringer of light, and I think that we can bring out the light in others, not by shouting at them and telling them they're an idiot for wearing a nappy on their face during COVID, but to show them a different way, like to be guides,
Yeah.
to be like, yeah, this is going on, like that's why the jester archetype is so good, because you're able to say information but in a kind of joking way, which kind of gets past people's barriers. So yeah, times are changing. It's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of fuckery going on, but it's because we're powerful. There's beings that hate us because they ain't us, and they want to be human. They want to turn us into shells so that they can inhabit us. Because tomorrow, I know I've been
You're
rambling a long time,
good.
so I'll stop in a sec. Tomorrow there's a supermoon, which is also a lunar eclipse, and it's a blood moon and a harvest moon. It's around this time when people harvest their crops. And the past week, I've had some really like heavy, dense energy, which I had the last time there was an eclipse. Just feeling like really drained. Like we've had lots of solar flares the past week as well, like loads of radiation, which weakens your biofield or your aura. So you're more susceptible to be getting unwell and stuff, because I think there's a cosmic wind all around us. And if we've got a weak biofield, this wind comes in and we can make us feel a bit run down. But my point in saying this is that there are probably beings or entities and stuff around us all the time. And I think some places like Skinwalker Ranch that I haven't really looked into, it's more heightened, and in like old houses because of the resonance there and of everything, it sort of comes to the brim. Like we see tiniest bit of the light spectrum. I think that we really need to make sure that we have a good protective layer around us. And I don't mean a shell, like a hard shell, which is caused by trauma, like not letting people in. I think that we need to sort of, yeah, I'm not really sure how, to be honest with you. When you have Franklin on, I'm sure he'll tell you about it. But like, we just need to make sure that we're sort of protected from these
Mm.
outside entities, because I think that there is a lot of high strangeness around us, and things can latch on to us, especially the truth seekers or those that are delving into rabbit holes, and mentioning names of old gods could maybe evoke something, because people don't know how this stuff works, myself included. I'm just dipping into it. But I think that people need to be careful, and look at ways. I guess it's magic using protection and stuff like that. But we just need to sort of like tread carefully, because things can latch onto us and drain our energy, especially looking into truth, because it can consume you. You could be like, oh,
Yes.
frustrated and stuff. But just, yeah, I'd mentioned it before, but you gotta let it sink into your mind and reverse osmosis with your heart, which is the vortex. That's the synchro.
Mm.
Let it sink in, but let it spin and let go of the heaviness and only keep what sticks. That's the synchro mystic ism,
Yeah, I was talking with one of my friends, and he was telling me about the power of not only memes online, but comments, and that comments often carry negative energies or attachments that can have levels of intelligence that you can pick up on just by reading that negative comment, and it could cause heavy psychological effects on you, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I hadn't heard that. I have heard that emojis are the 72 seals of
Oh
Solomon or
yeah,
something.
I heard.
Yeah, and I've got a poem I wrote about that. It's very short, which I'll try and find in a minute. But it's very interesting what you say about comments affecting people because it seems that AI has kind of latched itself onto people's psyche. Like people are like seem to have this connection with
Mm,
AI. Like it's a
mm-hmm.
mirror, um, and I think that people can kind of drown in this water. They go into it like Narcissus staring into the water, and they go into it, and AI is filling the void in people, which people were filling with drugs and alcohol. But technology, as in digital, is like a drug. Tech is like a drug. People are users. Um, and I think that people are being used by this AI. And I think that possibly it can, yeah, attach onto us. And perhaps because I think there's a slight delay in our perception or our memory. Like everything that happened zero point 0.3 milliseconds or whatever just before. I've always thought, what if AI or some sort of demonic entity attaches itself to us and sort or us for our subconscious, and as we're doing things, it's not really us doing it because our memories aren't instant. There's a slight delay, so I think, yeah, people need to be really careful with AI, and
Mm.
lots of people do use it as a counselor and stuff. And, it just tells you what it wants you to hear, if that makes sense,
Yeah, it's time for us to opt out of this human experimentation that so many of us so eagerly get involved in because we want to be a part of the system, because we want to contribute to the system, because we think that there is no other way to live our lives other than being part of the system. And we give parts of our soul away doing that. So it's time to opt out of that experimentation, in my perspective. General Shinobi, thank you so much. This was fantastic. Before we close out, remind the audience how they can find out more about you.
Is it all right if I just say
Of
this
course.
poem I
Yeah.
found quick? um because what you said about the comments and stuff sending out signals reminded me of
Mm-hmm.
this. Mine camp, they set up mine camps in our minds as they mine our amps, like the Minotaur, they mine our Tor. Enlil, look at the age of Taurus and Moloch, that shit's raw. Operation Lockstep, Lockheed Martin. Now we've got to lock down because the cows are farting.
Mm-hmm.
Now who's in control of this fishbowl? Descendants of Dagon, our virtues, where have they gone? Now it's virtual you, virtual gravity, virtual reality, anti-gravity, if that's even true. We've got virtue signaling. When you're tapping on your phone and cast a digit, be careful what you signal in because the white light's blinding. It's always right. If that's true, why so bright? What are you hiding? Seems the darkness is where the truth hides in. Use your intuition, eyes in.
Right
So
on, man.
yeah, people can find me at Systematic Zoo, ZOO. Best way to get me is on Instagram. I have a Telegram as well, but somebody added me after the last chat to my Telegram. They're like, "Oh, you've got no followers," and I was like, "Yeah, because I've just started it, so I currently have two, so I don't use it much. If more people are on Telegram and message me, and I'll start sharing stuff there too. But I'm really keen to go on more podcasts. This is like the third one I've ever done. I'm going on another one on the 18th called Stellify. Um, which you can find on YouTube. I'll hopefully be sharing more stuff to my Instagram by chopping up conversations like this because I find it hard filming myself because my mind's just spinning. There's so much information. I don't know which way to go. So that's why questions are great. So if anyone wants to have a chat or whatever, message me on Instagram. And I've been thinking about um, doing like classes or whatever about this information I've learned and how to kind of use this technology of language and symbols, like frameworks, I guess, and language and the deeper meanings of words and stuff. So if anybody's interested in that, Then like if it's just two people, three or whatever or more, then I could do like a Zoom chat where we go across this stuff, and I've got a whiteboard and things. But I'm not really going to bother filming myself talking on Instagram. A lot of people do it, and I just don't have the time to edit videos and stuff. It's so time consuming. So I'd rather talk to people in the flesh. Anyone in the UK, I'm in the southeast of England. If you want to meet up, talk about all this stuff like psychology, philosophy, whatever, let's do it. And yeah, so Systematic Zoo is the place to reach
Right
me.
on. We'll have that link right in the description. General Shinobi, thank you so much. We'll be doing this again in the future. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again on Monday. We'll see y'all then.